Hi, this is Zach Braz. I'm a intern therapist at Capital Area Counseling, student of counseling at St. Edward's University, and I'm here today with my good friend Greg Mauro. A lot of clients and a lot of people that I know struggle with something over and over again, and that is confrontation. And I think a lot of that has to do with confidence as well. Um, Greg has been a mentor to me, and he is a peer coach and speaker on confidence and about the pressure that we put on confrontation and a different way to look at it. So, Greg, why don't you go ahead and tell me a little bit about what that means to you?
Sure. Well, thanks for having me. When we talk about confrontation and confidence, I think the two really go hand in hand. I think some of us lack the confidence to go through confrontation. However, I think confrontation is paramount for emotional and spiritual growth. I guess, and this is kind of blunt, but life is very, very chaotic to the point I'm surprised that there's not people in the streets kind of going crazy and with just things going sideways. Like, life isn't easy. But I think there are some fundamental things that you can add or supplement depending on your personality and what type of person you are, that could definitely be beneficial. I feel like it's natural to not want confrontation, though I do feel like dealing with confrontation allows you to create space for more serving things in your life, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. And I've known you for a long time, and I'm going to mention a few things that some people have brought up to me, friends and clients, regarding this. And they've asked questions like, what do you do when you freeze? Where do you get that confidence to confront someone at work or in a relationship or a boss or a friend that's not treating you right? Or I'll have people tell me that they do the extra work rather than risk getting into it with somebody who they're picking up the slack for because it's just not worth it to get into that with them. And I was wondering if you could explain a little bit, because you followed a very different path and you've never really had things stacked to your advantage. But the more I got to learn about you, you're a loving, caring person. But when people are getting taken advantage of, and when you're getting taken advantage of, you're not afraid to speak up.
No, I'm certainly not. I mean, there's been scenarios where I have been. I don't know. That's a really interesting way to put it now that I think about it. I don't always view it as confrontation. And I don't always view it as confidence. I think there are times where I've been able to teach myself not really to even think about it like that, right? It's just, whether something is really beneficial to me or not, or do I really care about it? And I know we've talked about this before, but the big four pillars for me, in any situation, one, is this something that can I change, right? Two, is it something that I can accept and be okay with being treated like? Three, am I willing to walk away? Or four, am I willing to suffer through it? And I think it's really, really important. I also think a lot of people, and I know we've had conversations about this, I really don't think people treat themselves with the same level of compassion that they do for other people. Like, it's almost like they're less deserving. So I think in a situation where I feel like I'm being taken advantage of, I have like this level of security and self-love too, where I'm not really going to let somebody take advantage of me. Now, again, I think that can be a very broad subject and it's not necessarily applicable in every scenario. You know, yeah, it really depends on the situation.
Of course it does. So, and we have spoken before, and let's just fast forward and let me give you the benefit of the doubt for anybody that's out there listening, that you are equal rights and you are caring and you are non-biased, you're non-judgmental, and all those things that we have to be very careful about because it's a very sensitive time. Like you said, it's very chaotic. But I wonder if you were the coach to some of these friends of mine and some of these people I've gotten to know, kind of like you were to me, when they're waking up in the morning and they have to go in and deal with the same stuff that they have to every week, the same shit, the same people that take advantage. Why do we take advantage of people that are nice? And how do you switch from being that nice person without losing that part of yourself and feeling the strength to stick up for themselves? Like real quick, let me give you an example. I know where there was some really, really inappropriate comments being made at a childcare center, and every person I talked to who had the same experience went over and over in their heads, what did I do wrong? What did I say to this person that made him feel it was okay to say this stuff to me? And that's like wild to me. It blows my mind. If you were there on some of these people's shoulders, can you tell me what it might look like if you could coach them, like in your ear, be like in their corner?
Well, I think the first thing is, and I understand why people ask that question, is what did I do? And depending on the situation, you know, I would say out of the people I talk to, 98% of the time, it's nothing. You're doing nothing to deserve this. And I also think, and there are just a lot of hurt souls out there. That's like in human nature, you know, like one of the bigger things about being human is suffering. So I actually think that there is a lack of ownership on our side in what we allow people to get away with and not to get away with. And there are times where it's okay to let people get away with things. But I think there's an over action of letting people get away with stuff. That's not good for us.
I was wondering if you could give a few examples, maybe some overt examples.
Overt examples?
Yeah, maybe when you were younger, you know, because you taught me a lot about confidence and how to stick up for myself. And I saw some what looked like pretty extreme examples, but after seeing it, it was like, man, that's awesome. I wish I could do that. I wish I had a little bit more of that.
Yeah.
What pushed you to that, and how did it work for you?
I think actually like my insecurities pushed me to that. You know what I mean? My actual natural insecurities of growing up and trying to understand what that was from such a young age and not being tooled or having the support system. I was just kind of left to my own devices to really look at everybody else and really realize that, you know, a lot of people's issues with ourselves are based in their own insecurities. So in being so insecure at such a young age, it was really, really easy for me to be able to identify that in other people, which isn't the case for everybody. But I think it's important to like practice that level of empathy as to where someone's coming from, and not necessarily in the sense of like to forgive somebody or to, you know, just gain a bigger understanding, but to be able to walk away from things and also to stick up for yourself too, right? Like if you understand where someone's coming from based on their insecurities, it's actually a really, really powerful thing, because one, you can either empathize with that and walk away, or have a meaningful conversation, or to, you know, some degree, you know, especially someone who may have done you wrong. And again, I don't think it's great to hold on to, but to truly stand up for yourself, have that emotion, have that experience, and then move on from it.
That's really brave of you to say, and I've never thought about it that way. That's really interesting. Go further with that. Someone's wronged you, and you do stand up for yourself. Tell me, what does that look like, or what has that looked like for you? Because we all hit points where people have taken advantage of us for too long, and something needs to be said. And why are we so afraid of this? So, yeah, let me hear it.
Well, I think it's different for everybody in their situation. One, what type of personality they have, what type of personality they're dealing with. I've had lots of experiences, with people trying to marginalize me, take advantage of me, or make me small. I think a lot of it is deep rooted in just this kind of like, I hate to say it, like punk rock principle, right? Where, it's not anti-authoritative or anything like that, but it's more like, I just don't, and I don't think anybody feels okay with being somebody else's doormat. So I never really understood why people never really addressed that and what they were really afraid of. It's like, if something sits with you for so long and marinates and like you're unwilling to deal with it, the amount of damage that does to your life is going to be so much more than anything you could ever say to anybody, from my perspective.
And that's what I really want to hear, Greg, is your perspective, because I understand everyone's different, but a lot of people are just really struggling to get to that perspective. And I think they need to hear some examples from the other perspective.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot, right? I've been in work environments with abusive men who were misogynists and tough guys, and can't go a day without marginalizing somebody else, to the point where, it was a leader of mine and I had to sit down with him every week on these one-on-one meetings and more or less just go and take a beating. Almost to the point where, and I was super transparent about it when I'd walk into the office, it's like, okay, how are you going to talk down to me today? I don't know if that's necessarily the right way to go into it, but it was right for me in the moment. Just where he would say things and really, really like inappropriate things too, just about like his wife, past relationships with other women, even other colleagues at work and things like that. And, I felt like it was just, the world's tough, but it's a little bit easier when you're able to walk through it with a little integrity and love for yourself. I know a lot of people have issues with fear. I do myself. I mean, for a long time about a lot of different things. But I always know that there's more comfort and like a silver lining when I have the courage to speak about it, even when I am being insecure. I think owning your insecurities and being able to talk about them allow you to have leverage from a place of strength in your confrontation.
Wow. That's really cool. Yeah. Thank you for that. Let me go through one more quick example here, if you'll play along with me.
Yeah.
Just because I never hear this perspective, and I think it would be really helpful. And I know that you're really self-aware that it may not be the right way to go and everything, but sometimes extreme examples help. And so, you're going to work and somebody is blatantly disregarding you every day, or somebody is blatantly talking about you to other people in a disrespectful way, or they're taking advantage of the things you do for them. What goes through your mind? Where do you go? Or maybe it's when you're younger that you figured it out, or or you've expressed insecurities, but how do you get from, I really don't like that, to, okay, it's time to do something?
Yeah, I think sometimes it's flattering, right? I think whether somebody wants to give me bad attention or negative attention or positive attention, I mean, obviously I'd rather have positive attention, but I take it as them just giving me energy. So, I mean, I'd rather not have my name in someone else's mouth, and I have no problem saying that to somebody, hey, I know what you're saying, and just keep my name out of your mouth. But at the end of the day, it gives me energy, right? On some level. I think it's really, really important to be able to digest that as not negative energy, but rather as some sort of relevance, maybe. Again, it depends on the situation. If somebody's, unless if you're getting completely picked on or something like that, that's different. But and even in that case, if that is the case, you should say something, right? I think we're all out in this world, and no one's really going to come and do it for you, right? And I feel like there's really big emotional and spiritual growth in the moments after. It's like and everyone's always heard this multiple times. It's not the good moments or the easy moments that make who we are, and especially the things that we like about ourselves. It's what we do in those chaotic moments. And putting your shoulders back, standing up straight, and dealing with adversity. I don't think adversity is a bad thing. I think there are times that it can be hurtful, but the level of growth and things that go on during that is more valuable than having just a normal happy day. I think when you have those anxious moments and there are trying times and things that are really, really hard to navigate, there's a piece of us that we don't really see getting stronger until after the fact. So I think there's a lack of self-awareness that a lot of us need to work on, right? To understand that, you may not see it today, but it's actually a good thing, and that you should say something. These are our lives. And no one is ever going to be your biggest fan other than yourself. And I feel like a lot of the times we do give other people energy and treat other people better than we do ourselves. You could talk about your neighbor or your girlfriend or your friends or your significant other. And again, I think it's good to be selfless, but it's also really, really, really important to take care of yourself. And if there are things that are bothering you, again, to bring it back to those like kind of 4 things I go by, is this is something you can change. Is something you're willing to accept, willing to walk away, or really just sit there and suffer for it. And I feel like a lot of people take the suffering because they don't know how to do the other 3 things, which are really but are actually really, really practicable, or yeah, and easy to execute.
Wow, yeah. And what you said before about loving yourself, I mean, you can't give a part of yourself to somebody if there's no self to give.
Yeah, I mean, we're no good to anybody if we're not good to ourselves. I think that's like us living in a shell or pretending to be people that we're not. When you think about it, if you're like really, really good to yourself and you want to be really, really good to somebody else, you're going to end up being better to that other person, or in those situations, or even dealing with someone who may not be good to you. If you're not good to yourself, you're not really going to be willing to confront that situation and make it more about yourself and what you're going through, instead of growing and dealing with the issue that's at hand.
That all makes perfect sense. Let me ask you one more thing before you go, just because I've been on the other side and this didn't always come so naturally to me. What would you do? What would you give for advice for someone who says, okay, they wake up and they say, I'm going to say something today. Today's the day. And it takes all that courage, and they say it and it doesn't come out right. And someone snaps right back at them. And like, do you have any advice for that situation, for those last minute things? How do you turn that around?
Yeah, I think that's hard. I think we overthink things, right? So I think when we spend too much time in a place and thinking about what you're going to say and how you're going to say it, and then when you actually go to say it, it never comes out the way that you want it to. I almost feel like you need to calm your mind down to a certain extent. So whether that's meditation or whatever it is, not thinking about it too much, and honestly, say what you mean and mean what you say. And if it comes from a place of confidence, you're going to be able to communicate. So it's when really in those situations, that's going to be based off of insecurity, right? Like you're insecure about how you're still being viewed. And I could tell just based on the question, right? Like you're like, oh, it didn't come out right. Well, you're still really caring about what the other person thinks rather than communicating what's bothering you and what you have to say. There's too much thought in the other person's mind.
So I'd be correct to say if you're speaking the truth that even if you're not confident in yourself in saying the truth, as long as you're confident in the truth, you speak that loud.
Well, no, I think the truth matters. I think obviously saying the truth is it's not necessarily about being confident. It really depends on the person, right? Like there are people who are timid and just really have an issue with communicating with that. And maybe that's better served in a letter or an email or a text message where you can remove some of that awkward context for a person. However, at the end of the day, it's more important for you to actually say what your truth is and how you feel, regardless of the tone and how it's said. And, I struggle with that too, right? Like, being, almostly over assertive and aggressive. I don't really care about the tone as much as long as it's the truth, because if it's the truth, I've gotten my point across, right? I do think it's better to communicate things from a place of strength and that people can get there. They just need to tool themselves on how to do it the best for them. If that, you know what I'm saying? It may not always be a conversation. It may not be a text message. It could even be being passive aggressive, and I think there has to also be a level of emotional intelligence to who you're dealing with and how to get through to them. But then you start walking on that fine line of, are you thinking too much about it? Which I've struggled with before in the past, but the most successful times has really always just been shooting from the hip and just, whether it's emotional or cold and calculated, you know what I mean?
Yeah. If it's the truth, it's the truth.
Yeah.
Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
All right, Greg. Well, thank you. I'll continue to collect questions, and I don't know if there's anything else you want to say to end off on, or if you want to just shout out a way for people to reach you. Thank you so much. Greg has offered his time to do this for free, so thank you.
Yeah, no, I would say, if anybody wants to get a hold of me, you can get my email address from you. I'm happy to talk to anybody, happy to listen and tell you what my 2 cents are, if it means anything. But yeah, no, I think it's really, really important to have the self-confidence to deal with your insecurities with other people and come from a place of strength.
Well, that's really cool. And it seems like you're offering something to people that maybe you didn't get so much yourself, which makes it extra cool. So I thank you for that, my good friend. All right, I'll let you go. And let's talk soon. We'll do another one of these. Okay?
Yeah.